Great.
This is WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM. And we have with us, actually in the studio this time, instead of on Zoom, Clotilde Rullaud, and Chris McCarthy, awesome musicians that are based, Clotilde is based in Paris, and Chris, you're based in New York, right?
Yep.
Yes, and then also we have Bill Morton. He is the president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce and also a friend of Clotilde's. So welcome everybody. Welcome to.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us, because this is our first, at least for me, the first live interview in the studio for at least almost 2.5 years, right? 2019, wow. Yes. And I do remember. I do remember having you, and was it about a couple of years back, Clotilde?
Yeah, true. And I'm wondering if it was not like just before pandemic, actually. That's what I was thinking of, you know?
Yeah, very likely.
Like November 2019, I think.
Yes, I think we have the recording somewhere. We have to check it out. But it's been so it's been a tumultuous couple of years, and I'm very happy that the two of you are well and here.
Thank you.
And doing such great work.
Thank you.
Bill, did you want to do any intro before I start jumping in with the questions?
Certainly. I could say just for a little short time, I just want to say welcome to Chicago. It's wonderful to have you guys, host you guys in your upcoming show. We're planning on attending, and I loved Madeline and Solomon. Madeline and Solomon, Swallow's Song is one of my favorite songs, and I play it all the time. And I like the video as well. The music video is really awesome. You can catch it on YouTube. And I just wanted to say how happy I am that you guys are performing in Chicago, and you made Chicago one of the stops, legs of your tour.
Thank you.
I know that you're touring all over the place all the time. You're always recording. You're a filmmaker, an award-winning laureate filmmaker. We're so excited to have you here. I do have to get out of here, but I just wanted to say that, okay?
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you for the appreciation and the dedication to play the music, because it's so important.
Absolutely, and we will continue to play the music. I'll be listening in, guys. I'm just so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. First of all, Clotilde and Chris, how did you start working together?
One answer.
So in 2018, I think.
Yes, probably.
Maybe even earlier. A mutual friend of ours, Miriam El-Haji, who's a great singer and songwriter, connected us because Clotilde was looking for a pianist for a cocktail bar gig in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, yeah, that's true.
And we played the gig, and it immediately felt very natural to play with Clotilde. And
same. Likewise.
We kept playing at that bar a couple more times. A speakeasy, actually.
Yeah.
And then I think you heard my first album, which had a poem by Diane to Prima featured on it.
Yeah,
and
true.
Sort of a mashup with a monk, Thelonious Monk standard.
Yeah, that's true.
And we both like Diane's work a lot and decided to collaborate on this project about putting her poetry to music.
Yeah.
First of all, when you played together, how long did you practice before you were able to make the act gel?
Well, I would say I need more practice than Chris. Okay.
I don't know about that.
No, I mean, like, the thing is that we haven't seen much each other for 2 years because of the pandemic situation. So, I mean, we didn't practice that much, but this time when I came back, and we had more time to practice together, which was really cool because I love the music that Chris composed for this project. Really, I loved his way of composing, and it's not such an easy music to sing. Even when you listen to it, you don't really realize it, which is what I like a lot, because it seems like easy the way it comes naturally over the harmonies and rhythm, but in fact it's not that so easy. So it's cool that we had time to rehearse and create the sound, because we're adding some more electronic sounds. I'm also using the computer to transform the sound at some point. So yes, it's been cool to have this time to rehearse a bit.
How did you become interested in Diana de Prima's work?
I think I first heard about her through a poetry class at New England Conservatory that I took. And actually, no, now I heard the poem Rants that I used in my first album that I was talking about. I heard there's a pianist named Michael Malice who lives in Detroit, and he had a sort of improvised set he was doing where he played a recording of Diane reading that poem.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, what is this poem?
Mm.
And I knew about Diane a little bit already, but I tracked down the poem and then wanted to do my own version of it. So that's how I discovered her in the first place.
And then how did you adjust it to your version? What was it about your style that you adapted to the Prima's work?
I think, well, on this album I'm talking about, I took the monk tune and just put the poem over that, basically, and let the singer interpret how they want to read it. And I've always liked the idea of putting things together that don't necessarily belong together, but if you put things together, they'll sound like they belong together if you pitch it in the right way. So
yeah, and Clotilde, I'm assuming that then you had to improvise your interpretation of this poem. So how did you go about that, and how many changes did you have to go through before the final product?
Well, I didn't that much improvise it. It's more because part of the poems are proper lyrics of songs, so it's really designed by the melody. And on other songs or other moments of the same song, I can speak the text, or we play some samples of Diane de Prima voice that's easy to find on internet, and really she's great reading her poems. So I think it was more getting into the words, make sure to pronounce them the best I can, taking into account my accent, because I love her writing. She's really it's really musical, I think, and that maybe that's what we both like in it, I assume. And and also I wanted to add about what you said. It's funny because in a previous album I recorded the same song, Ugly Beauty, that Chris recorded with Rent on top of it. And I think that this thing of putting things that seems not to belong to each other but finally works well together, that's something we have both in common too. And that makes things maybe easier to find a common sound when we work together. So we start with what Chris composed and what is proposing. We chose together the poems we preferred at the very, very beginning as the start material. And but then we can go through our imagination to to find a common sound, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally.
So pieces of the song, could you let us know what are the pieces?
Ah, well, you should come tomorrow.
Well,
You should come tomorrow to discover it. Plus, it will be live streamed actually, so it's live stream concert. Invitation only to be in presence, so it's important to mention it. Well, what are the pieces? My favorite one is one we call Velvet Lady, but it's based on a poem called These Song. I would say that most of the poems are coming from a book written by Diane de Prima called Pieces of a Song, actually, and Revolutionary Letters. That's the most influence, the main influence. And also, it's funny because when she gives lecture, because she passed a year ago, when she gave lectures of her poems, very often she's mentioning like, oh, this should be sang, or this should be. I never talked about it to her. Never had this chance, but I have this feeling that she could hear the music of the words, you know, and that's what we feel in her writing, a bit like Toni Morrison with her writing that is super jazz in a way, like in the syncopic
Syncopation.
Yeah.
Of the words.
Did you have a chance to talk with her at all before she passed the Prima? Did she know that the two of you were putting together pieces of a song?
I think so.
I never got to talk to her directly, but when I was recording that album, I reached out to her family to get permission to use the poem, and I think we got her blessing and all that. I was mainly communicating with her daughter, but that's as close as I got to.
Yeah, but we tried to connect with her, but she was so sick at that moment, so it was really hard, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
When so you started the work in 2018, right? And then what happened to the creative process when the pandemic hit?
Stalled.
Yeah, stalled.
Kind of.
I mean, we were originally gonna do this tour in 2020.
Yeah.
And it got pushed back, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
Basically. So it's nice to finally make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the beginning of the pandemic, it was pretty hard to be motivated to create, I think, for a lot of people, because all the deadlines were taken away. So you just had to be totally self-motivated to make stuff happen.
So the project, the sound and the whole project was already in place when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
the basis.
In November 2019, we had done a couple shows of like the set which we're doing in a new form tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, new form, new like same. So it's like another version of what you had.
Yeah, a new and improved, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a kind of a next step. Because I have the feeling that in November 2019 it was still a work in progress, which is what we had chosen to do, like to have different steps of creation, and unfortunately it will keep on going in that direction of improving the sound, the form, maybe change it, maybe. I mean, we're really into organizing sometimes at some point something more interdisciplinary with other artists, maybe visual, or so we don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe if we do an album release at some point, but I have this feeling that we're always like in a work of progress state of mind.
Yes.
Are you
Work in progress.
Are you planning at all to make an album out of this work?
Yeah, I
Yes.
would love to, really. Really.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet. But,
No.
yeah, once we have performed it more and refined it, I
Yeah.
think we'll be ready to record.
When the pandemic hit and then you were stalled, then were you able to sometimes practice over Zoom so that it still stays fresh with you? Or when you were able to get dates again to perform, did you have to refresh and then brush up on all that missing time?
We never did a Zoom rehearsal. I think
No.
it's just kind of,
Hard.
Yeah.
soul sucking to do rehearsals on Zoom.
And the latency too. And
Oh,
Yeah, it just wasn't really possible.
Mm.
But I felt like when we got back to the music this past couple months, I was surprised how much of it we remembered, and it felt like the past 2 years didn't happen, and we were just picking up where we left off.
yeah, that's true. That's very true.
What about the pandemic? Well, all that transpired, did that affect the message at all that you were trying to bring across in the project and pieces of the song?
I don't know if it changed the message, but it definitely made a lot of her poems more relevant.
Yeah.
Like the revolutionary letters especially are so relevant to climate change, and they're sort of like survival guides for the apocalypse. A lot of them.
Yeah, that's true.
So they definitely hit closer to home, I think, in the current environment.
Mhm. Were you kind of surprised, when the pandemic hit, and then about how relevant that the message was in the work to what was happening during the pandemic?
In a bad way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, because I mean she's from the 60s, and
Yeah.
Unfortunately our message is still accurate. And also I think that's what makes it relevant when she wrote, still relevant. It's because she's from the Beat generation, and they were really talking about how to be the best human you can. That was somehow that was their quest. I mean, I think as artists at the time, and find your individuality, but with the respect of the community. And so this is really an accurate message, and especially after the pandemic, because somehow it isolated each of us and maybe made us more individualistic. But now that things resume, we have to find again the way how to work together, how to be together with social distances, which is a hard word when you think about it. In French, we say social barriers. I don't know if you can say that in English.
Oh,
so imagine, it's like the barrière sociale is so like strong and violent if you think about it, because we've been listening to these words again and again, like respect the social barriers for us, so yeah, I think that that's why unfortunately our words are so accurate, because she's really talking about it, and also how to live as an artist, and how life can be struggling, and how to cope with wanting to be an artist and a parent, and parenthood and artist life. How does it work together? But that can be transferred to anybody in our lives. How do you manage to deal with everything, and especially when you have to stay in the same house all together?
Yeah.
So I think that's the link.
Let's get back to your creative process. Clotilde, you have such a beautiful voice, and then of course you do all these different artistic sounds too. So how did you separate in the work what you're going to sing, and then where the sounds come in?
Oh, Well, we have this moment when we are more into sound improvisation, and then I'm really like into sound texture. And also I like, because I think that Chris, when he plays, he really also plays a lot with the overtones of the piano and how they work together, the way he plays the chord changes and you know, I don't know how you call it. Yeah, that's it. So it's really inspiring because it gives a lot of material for me to go inside these overtones and play with the sound and shape the sounds with weird stuff sometimes. And also it's really cool because it's always okay.
At what point of the work does the improvisation comes in? Is there could you give us a little sense of the subject matter that happens when the sounds start coming? You start doing your sounds with the poetry.
The first song in the set starts with just like an open improvisation kind of,
Yeah.
but it's all it's kind of like starting from nothing, like the music just will come out of the air basically, and then it slowly builds into a more complete song.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we've been starting the set, with just like very minimal textures. And
Yeah, definitely.
That kind of sounds like the chaos before the universe, the creation of the universe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, no, maybe. Yeah, actually, it's true that it's more and more structured through the time. And also we play the whole set without really stopping.
Yeah.
It's more like a long story, a 1 hour or something story.
Mhm.
It's a journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always liked through composed, well, it doesn't have to all be composed, but a continuous progression of stuff, not talking between every song and stuff like that.
Me too.
Could you give us a little sense of the story so that at least the audience will become just have a little understanding of what you're doing, because not many of our audience is familiar with your work, but how you do it.
Like what?
Your singing, and then also the sounds too.
Oh, okay. Can I take off the mask?
Sure.
For a second?
Yes.
I'm sweating. I can do some overtones, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Wow.
I don't know if you can really proper hear the overtones through the video, but
Yeah, that's beautiful, because I think in one of the tracks that we played, not of you, of another artist, it was like Bill Cole in his in the album Still Breathing. There is a sound like that exactly. And do you know whether that sound resembles some kind of instrument? I think it might be some kind of Eastern instrument, because Bill Cole does a lot of like Eastern instruments.
Yeah, true. It's a bit like the sound that produced the harmoniums in India, but also it can remind people with didgeridoos from Aborigines people in Australia. Sound, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because those are two of the instruments that he actually mentioned when he interviewed with me. Yeah. Oh, wow. You do such a, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It sounds so like that. Wow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Chris, what when you're playing the piano, and then it seems as if this pieces of a song is kind of out of the box, out of typical piano repertoire. So
Mhm.
so have you done anything like this before, or is this the first time you really stepped out of the box piano wise?
I've always been interested in going out of the box in whatever sense. I've definitely worked with a lot of singers, and they and I've done different types of poetry settings and things like that. So I've been interested in kind of the not just doing jazz piano, even though that's what I went to school for, and like that's when I'm playing around New York. A lot of times I'm just playing straight ahead jazz, and I love to do that. But the music I write doesn't necessarily come directly from that tradition all the time. Even though I'm always influenced by it, and I want to draw from all the other kinds of music I enjoy as well. When I'm writing and playing. And really it's just about putting together sounds I like. And there are certain harmonies that I will like gravitate towards, and I think there's sort of, not that I have a unique language necessarily, but there's like a certain thread through the compositions, I think, that you hear that they're all sort of, because they all came from my brain one way or another, like they all are related, even if I didn't compose them at the same time.
The harmonies that you mentioned, do they derive from jazz? Where do they derive from?
Yeah, they definitely on some level. But I take a lot of inspiration from classical composers like Messiaen or Debussy. I think Clotilde does as well. And but all and really anything. Like I think it might sound more like jazz just because it's piano and voice, and you hear that combination a lot in that genre. But yeah, I guess it all comes from somewhere, but hard to say exactly where.
So you've been interested in improvising and being out of the box since how long were you? You kind of seem to be classically trained in jazz, and how deep were you? How many years progressed before you felt that now I know the material so well, the genre so well, that I could make my own interpretation of it?
Well, I don't know if there's a moment that I was like, okay, now I can start writing, and now I'm good enough now that I can make my own statement. It was more like parallel tracks. Like the more I learn about jazz, and the more repertoire I learn in that idiom, the more it influences my own writing. And yeah, they're symbiotic. They feed into each other, I think.
Are you able to describe what it was that you were trying to achieve
with this set of music specifically?
Yes, and then also artistically too. When you started trying to meld what you learned into what you wanted to create.
It's hard to say exactly, but I think I was thinking about Clotilde's voice in particular, and like this record that she did with another pianist that I saw them perform, and got a sense of how she puts a set together, and what kind of textures might work behind her voice. And I like to try to write for the specific people that are performing it. Which is, what Duke Ellington would always try to do, write for the band. And I don't know if I succeeded, but
you did.
Yeah, that was the goal, basically, to make something that I thought would fit her approach and that we could develop together.
What album of Clotilde's did you listen to that inspired you?
The one that's right
Yeah,
here.
A Women's Journey, the one that
Yes.
I was talking about.
Yes, that's a fabulous album. We really
Thank
enjoyed it.
you.
Well, what about each of you makes this partnership so special?
Well, I think somehow I said it before. I mean, like I clearly remember the first time we played and didn't rehearse, and so Chris said, "Okay, what do you want to play?" And I came up with these standards that, at least in France, I don't know in the US, but are less sung, like pieces from Monk and Mingus. So they're not so usual for a singer to sing them, but I do love them musically. And Chris said, "Oh, they're some of my favorite too." So I clearly remember this thing of it was so easy, and yeah, I think, and that's actually what I felt when we met again, like 10 days ago when I arrived in New York, and we hadn't played together for 2 years and more, 2.5 years almost. And it was just easy. And I love his way of composing. I love his previous albums. And also Chris is doing like great stuff with just a drummer. You have this duo that I like around hip hop. And this is also something like, I like the fact that we're not encaged into one specific type of music. I know that with Chris we can talk, and I can go very far, sometimes too far into my imagination, but we talk, and it's always like cool because it's not like, okay, no, we only play that type of music and that's it. So this is really comfortable, and as you said, I mean, you did succeed. It's kind of the compositions it did. I really love his way of composing, and it feels like haute couture. Can you say haute couture in English? Like, you know, in the dressing thing, you have the clothes that you buy at the store, and you have this clothes designed for you especially.
Yeah.
And
Tailored.
so tailored, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, it's this kind of relationship too with the music. Like it's so it's really comfortable, like to have someone really listening to your instrument and saying, okay, this goes well with you. This is not working that much, so let's take another direction. And it's not a big deal. It's not like, no, you have to do exactly what I wrote, even if it's not really adapted to the person, the instrument I am somehow.
For Clotilde, what was the album of Chris's that particularly inspired you, and so that our listeners could go maybe listen to the album just to get a little bit more insight into Chris's work?
I love Thunder, but maybe people should also check the last one.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name.
Still Time to Quit.
Still Time
is
to
the
Quit.
name of the album.
Yeah, which is a great one too.
Yeah, Sonder is only on Bandcamp. It's not on streaming services.
Yeah.
But that was sort of like my NEC, my college senior recital in album form. So I think it's a good reflection of where I was at that time, artistically. And then this newest album is more of like a straight ahead quintet album. It's not straight ahead exactly, but the instrumentation is like a typical jazz ensemble, but it's all stuff I wrote. And again, with the specific members of the band in mind. And I'm recording a new piano trio thing actually next week.
Yeah.
With a bunch of new music.
Looking forward.
So yeah.
Well, Chris, what about your insight as to what about each of you makes this partnership special?
Everything Clotilde said, agree with. And it's just nice to feel like I'm supporting a singer that is willing to take risks and make something unique, and we're not really worried about sounding a particular way. It's about just what we can create in the moment. So I like the level of spontaneity that we still have. Not that it's having a balance of improvised and composed stuff is really nice. And I think the set is, I think Pieces of a Song is a good name because not all the songs are like 5-minute, fully fleshed out, and then there's a bridge, pre-chorus, chorus. It's more like sections, pieces that you are like being put together slowly over the course of an hour. And then we might go off the deep end and be improvising crazy sounds for 4 minutes, and then all of a sudden we're into like a melodic statement that are like, okay, how did we get here? But that's what's fun about it, creating the contrast and going between the totally improvised side and the songwriter side. Sometimes in this, very quickly. That makes it very fun to play and collaborate on.
So is it a part of the story of the writer that inspires you to be creative and make something new?
Of Diane specifically?
I guess because you said that sometimes the spontaneity of the moment hits you, and then you create something that's different from before. So does that mean that you see another side of Diane's work that you didn't see before?
Well,
yeah,
maybe,
so.
Probably,
Yeah, because when you're reading the poems a little differently every time.
That's true.
And there's one song we do, it's a Ornette Coleman piece called Chronology, and there's a poem of Diane's with the same name. So we put them together, and I'm playing the melody sort of freely against the poem, but I'm trying to match it to her rhythm.
Wow,
that's really cool. I like this moment.
And it's really fun. It's sort of like Hermeto Pascoal's approach.
Definitely.
The great Brazilian composer who did a lot of stuff with putting music to the voice and matching the pitches of your natural speaking voice.
wow.
And I've been really interested in that for a while.
It's really great.
And there's more and more of that on the internet. Mono Neon is a great bass player who does a ton of stuff like that, and people will just be harmonizing like dogs barking and stuff like that. But it's pretty fascinating to think about all the pitch material that is out there just in everyday conversation and how you can turn that into music.
That's true.
When for Clotilde, you do a lot of the sound effects with your voice, and then what about a sound makes it suitable for art and music?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because first I would be tempted that I think that, just as Chris said, well, every sound can be a material, but then maybe I would say it will depend on the context. Like if I'm singing maybe just a lullaby, or I wouldn't interfere like some screaming into it, but if it's on purpose to say something, So I would say that what makes a sound interesting as a material for creation is what do you want to say with it? What's the purpose of this specific sound? Like if you use a scream, is it because you scream, or is it because you're just trying to reach some weird state or evoke? You're trying to evoke this kind of a state of a trance, like a shaman, you know, or I don't know. Or if you're hushing, is it because you want to talk about tenderness, or it's just because you're trying to whisper like a witch, you know, because there's the same sounds, but they don't say the same thing. So yeah, to me, that's how I try to pick up the sounds I use. It's really like colors. It's more like I'm painting, or I'm doing I'm creating vases, you know, I'm shaping vases with or I don't know. So I'm trying to take all these textures and play with them to express, yeah, the colors I have in mind and what I want to say. Trying to at least.
So do you also have sounds for colors too, for you?
Yeah, for colors.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like for example, the vowels, the shape of the vowels, they link to colors for me, and which is not something new, because maybe you've heard about the French poet Rimbaud. He wrote poems called vowels, but it's funny because we don't have the same colors related to the same sound. So it's very personal. But for me, for example, the E sound is something like super yellow that can be almost like greenish, you know, like in between yellow and green, when it's super like exactly the color of the leaves at the beginning of spring, you know, this in between green and yellow. And a sound, or I should say we have the like in cat, okay, is something like red, very like it can be different shades of red depending on the way you pronounce it. So yeah, that's fun.
That's interesting, because it's like you have an easel, and then you're using sounds and then colors and music to create a piece of art.
Yeah, somehow I think that's why I went to directing and I did this movies. I mean, visual art is somehow very important, and the visualization of what I want to say is super important. So yeah, I remember super well my dreams, and I've been since I'm a child. So it's like I don't know, it's like I have like loads of movies in my head from all the dreams, and so it's true that to me all the art medium or media, sorry, are linked, and they're just a way to express something, and sometimes one is more accurate than another one to say something specific, but it's true, it's like, I don't know.
What about sound and visual? Which comes for you first, Clotilde?
Well, I think they come both at the same time, because when I listen to music, I see stories, and actually the way I remember songs is not, I don't remember the word. It's funny because there's different steps of memorization for me. So first I read the words, I digest them, like, I mean, what they mean, you know, really like, what is it about? What does it make me feel? What the rhythm and the colors of the phonemes is evoking to me. And then the music comes, and the music gets stronger. So I remember the melody. And at some point, I will remember some specific sound of the words, like a or a phoneme with a specific sound of the melody. So it will be like kind of a puzzle, or you know, these painters, the dotting process. So it's like of dots. And then there's this moment when I just have a movie in my head of this old song which is the picture of the rhythm, the harmonics, the colors, because it's the same, like how the harmonies go through the song. It's a feeling. I don't remember like, oh, we're going through, I don't know, G7 and then we go to diminished chord. I don't remember. I really don't think about what do you say, the name of the chords. I mean, I know them when we practice, but then there's this moment, it's just like a physical sensation and colors. And so this movie appears in my head. And it's funny because at that moment, very moment, is the moment when I do remember the words. And they're not words anymore. It's not word and music. It's just like, I don't know, like a big story. And which gives me loads of freedom. That moment is, I'm totally free, because then, I mean, if Chris changes totally the chords behind what we were supposed to do, like on a precise melody, it's no problem, because I can hear in my head, I have the old harmonical context, because it's the movie. So it's just adding another color. So it's like, oh, I didn't notice there was bird here, or you know, or like a light up sun. And this is so exciting. I love it. Actually, it's the moment I prefer, because you're just like, you're walking through a scenery that you know, and then boom, there's something different. And that's what I love.
Yeah,
So that's the process. Sorry, not sure I was clear.
So you're also a visual artist, right, Clotilde?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself as a visual artist, but I directed, yes, a few short films. But I wouldn't say I'm a proper visual artist. I'm just using videos as a material. Or
You also won sponsorship from the French government, so for jazz. So how did that happen?
So it's actually not only a French grant, it's a French and American grant. That is for it's called French American Jazz Exchange, and actually it's named Jazz and New Music, and it comes from the FACE Foundation, which is a French American cultural exchange, and they also sponsor dance creations and movies and loads of stuff. And well, at some point we thought it would be nice to create a new repertoire, and it's, you know, it's cool to have some funds to make it possible and take a bit of time and organize a few concerts without the pressure of making the money out of it. And I knew about this grant. And so I said to Chris, well, we should apply. And then it happened.
That worked out, yeah.
Oh, awesome. When you applied, how long was it before you got it?
A few months, I think.
Yeah.
I forget exactly.
Yeah, me too.
But we got it in like mid 2019, right?
Or 18.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe.
Or end of 18, and I can't remember when
I'm not sure. But
So it was kind of pre-pandemic when you got it then.
yeah.
Oh.
The project was supposed to happen before COVID.
Right.
But yeah, here we are making it happen.
What about during the pandemic? Were you like other artists? Did you get any assistance, like maybe help support from the government because of you know, the art? I forgot what the artist fund is called.
I didn't. I had a work from home job during the pandemic, like teaching piano online.
Oh.
I just resigned about a month ago, actually, from that because the pandemic's more or less it's an endemic now, right? And I feel, gigs are coming back, and I kind of had to choose if I wanted to work from home or go back to touring and doing that side of things. And it was a pretty obvious choice.
For sure.
But it was good because I didn't have to have an unemployment reimbursement or anything like that.
Good for you. What about you, Clotilde? Did the French government help artists in any way?
Yeah, we're super lucky. I think yeah. The condition for artists in France compared to most part of the world is very protected by the government. Yeah, so we've been protected at some point, which is cool.
How popular is jazz in France? American jazz?
Well, hard to say. There's always more and more young cats learning jazz at music schools. So probably more than 20 or 30 years ago. But on the other hand, I feel like the audience is decreasing. And, it's a bit like the hen and the egg. Can you say that? We say that in French. Like who's first, the hen or the egg?
Yeah.
And
Chicken or the egg?
chicken, yes. It's because, well, I don't know if the audience decreased, and then jazz festivals started to book more pop music or pop and jazz or world and jazz music, and then it made people go less to real jazz because they're not used to it anymore. Or is it the opposite? I don't know. But yeah, no, it's always weird, but there's always an underground scene, so it's funny, especially for things that are not real proper jazz, but maybe like something using the codes of improvisation, developed harmonies, interesting rhythm material. To me, that's what jazz is, and political things, because to me, American jazz is definitely a political language. And that has always been, especially for the Afro-American people. And yeah, so there's always a scene ready for that. So using the same kind of spirit and material, but doing different stuff.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us in Wizard, Clotilde Rullaud, and also Chris McCarthy. So Clotilde, how did you become interested in jazz? Because you just mentioned that jazz is political, and then there's a lot of improvisation too. And then you like to improvise. So what about the chicken and egg concerning that?
Well, I studied flute at what we call Conservatory of Music, so music school, but call it Conservatory of Music. And I've always been lucky to have very open-minded teachers, and they pushed me into being myself as a musician and not being like a conformist classical musician, which because I think they felt that I needed this improvisation, and I couldn't have done a classical career. I do respect it so much, but it's I couldn't. It's not the way my brain it works. I mean, and I need things to change all the time. So that's me. And also my parents used to listen to the national radio called Radio France, and we have this program France Musique, and they play so many different stuff, like very contemporary things and classical music and jazz and very improvised stuff. And so we used to have this in the house. Like I can remember so many times hearing all the sounds and colors, and so it was like a background. And I think it gave me the taste for it.
Likely. What about any conflicts between you two that you had to overcome in order to create such a good partnership?
Not really, honestly.
No, not yet, as I said.
The main conflict was just not being able to collaborate for a couple of years, really, at least in person. But yeah, I've had nothing to report it, I think.
No.
The way I see the two of you is that if there any conflict that they come up, the two of you would just use it as material to make another layer of what you're trying to create.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We would break the piano, put the fire.
You'll just be screaming.
Yeah. You would too. We will record it and I will be, yeah.
During the pandemic, were the two of you able to do any virtual performances at all?
Not together.
Yeah.
I did a fair amount of online Zoom concerts, which I think all of the musicians around the world got pretty tired of pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I think, live streaming is here to stay, I think. It's just having an audience of some kind is paramount to what we do. And, like we just played in St. Louis 2 nights ago to a very, very attentive crowd. And yeah, just having bodies in the room soaking up what you're doing makes all the difference.
Yeah, this is so true. Because also I think that we maybe the audience doesn't realize it, but we do interact with the people in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, the way people react to what we're doing, the way they listen to it, even if it's totally quiet, you can feel, I don't know, the depth of the air, and this is going to have an influence on how we're going to, play the songs.
Yeah.
When you're just in front of a camera, it's so impersonal. It's more like, so it's hard to me. It's reminding me when you're in studio in front of the microphone and you have to get really into your deep emotions so that they appear even if there's nobody in front of you to exchange with. I think.
Yeah, I did a couple of concerts that were live streamed, but we were like in a venue, but there was no audience, and that's just the weirdest feeling ever. We end a song and there's silence.
Yes, that's it.
That's
like, terrible.
Why did we just do that? But yeah, we had to keep making music though, even though all the venues were closed. So
when you make sound in the studio versus what you hear, when you're on the stage and versus what comes across in Zoom, the sound quality is totally different, right? There's no semblance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because all the maybe it's going to change with time. I don't know. They're going to improve it, but so far it's actually Dan Tepfer developed this a great piano player, is like a mathematician too. Kind of, he developed a software to do remote concert with less latency as possible and quite a good quality of sound. But of course, it's I don't know how you call it. It's reshaping the sound somehow. Because, and plus if you're at home, you're going to listen to it through the speakers of your computer. Well, not everybody has a good sound system at home because, it's quite a bit of money. And probably if you have all the people around you in the same house, maybe making noise or I don't know. So yeah, different.
Yes, but still a little bit better than nothing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
How is the conflict in Ukraine affecting the French and art music scene?
Well, I don't really know yet because it's a bit too early. It's terrible what I'm saying to say that. Of course, I mean the verification of not verification, but the all the political discussion about gas and food. What do you say? Exchanges that we have and the dependency we may have with Russia and in Europe for gas that USA less have may have deep impact on the economy in a short or middle term. And well, when the economy is tensed, you know, that's what I was saying. The first expense. I mean, the first. The first thing people will cut in their budget is not their bread. So it could lead to people going less out and then venues to have problems.
Right.
Well, we'll see. But the on the positive hand of it, it's there's been like a beautiful movement of support for Ukrainian artists, and it's always like very cheerful to feel human beings able to be together behind something, you know. So
Let's do a WZRD Chicago community assessment with you. WZRD Chicago, being a nonprofit radio station, must be responsible to the community we serve. WZRD is mandated to file quarterly issues with the FCC on non-entertainment, community-focused programming. We like to assess the community for these quarterly issue topics with 3 questions. First, what is most important to you?
Well, global warming is probably like the only issue that really matters on some level. Yeah, and what would you say?
yeah, that's true. Like, I mean, if we don't protect the home, how can we all survive? Also, for me, like the women rights and minority rights and I mean, especially because each time we think it's getting better, then boom, suddenly something worse is happening somewhere in the world. Like, I mean, in Afghanistan recently, or some countries in Europe which are going very nationalist, and it's always bad for women and minorities. And I think I heard like some things are happening now in the States too. So, well, and we were about, I mean, in France. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. Our second question is, what long-term problem must we address?
You mean as a radio station, or?
No, as what
As a
is important to
society.
you? Yes. What?
Same answer, I think. Yeah, I mean, like Clotilde said, I think the trend in America towards nationalism and turning back the clock 50 years is very frightening and counterproductive, and it's hard to know what to do about it. But I think, you know, Diane Prima talks about art being a certain active revolution on its own, and yeah, maybe by committing to our art, we can help with these issues in some way.
Yeah, I do think so. I do agree. And I think that because the best way to avoid the global warming, or I mean, to change the mentality that will lead to a more human society somehow, or to more humanity in our way of treating our planet and treating each other's, to me is really education somehow, and to be sure that everybody has the tools to be able to fight what I mean, to be able to reconsider what when people will say, and to argue. I mean, argument is a false friend in French and English, but to debate. To debate about these ideas, and to me it comes with education. I don't know if you heard about this this study. It's been made famous with a movie. It was run, I think, in the 60s in the States. So it was, you know, people could apply to some kind of medical experience, but they recruit the people among through a newspaper, you know, like it was a little ad. Do you want to get like $100 easy? I don't know, and 100. So come and just do it's a medical experience. So to me, that's the twist to the experience, actually, and you will understand why. Because so the experience was actually totally fake. So it was only actors, but it was like, so there's a doctor and there's a patient, and the patient is linked to some electrodes, yes. And so the person participating to this experience is supposed to send electric current into the body of this fake patient when the person doesn't respond well to the question. Okay, is that clear? Okay. And at the very beginning of the experience, the doctor explains to the participant of the experience, to the applicant of the experience, that if the person goes too high in the electrical charge, they can kill the fake patient. Okay, the patient, the doctors are fake. They're all actors. Okay, so I mean, the person knows it, and though I think it's like 70% of the applicants of this experience, or 80%, will kill the patient because of you know, pushing too far, and they will do it deliberately because the doctor is here and is embodying the knowledge, and he says no, they did the fake, they failed in answering the question, so you have to give a shot of electricity, and more. So to me, because some people said, oh, this experience just explain how humanity is perverse somehow from the very beginning. But to me, no, it just explains because the people, the applicants to the experimentation were not people who went through like high studies. They didn't get a lot of education because, you know, they just like to get a few dollars, you know. And so it's hard to, when you don't know, to say to a doctor, no, you're wrong. No, I fight against what you say, because, you know, it's really embodying the knowledge and the power. So to me, education is the door so that people can fight and say, no, you're trying to say that I'm going to kill this person just because they didn't match an egg and you know, and the chicken, because they were like questions like this, you know. So so yeah, sorry, it was a detour, but to make it short, what Chris said, I do agree, because when we put art outside and try, to me, it's a way to try to shake people's heads and push them to read more and investigate question themselves, and me too. I mean, when we work on a new repertoire, it's questioning myself. I go deeper into research. So I feel like we all progress into that.
So what you seem to mean, Clotilde, was that the long-term problem is that people need to be educated, and then with the facts as well, so that when they do make decisions, then those decisions will be based on education that is education about facts and not like a twist on history.
Exactly, and that's why we all, because I shouldn't say they, we, me too, we should be super open-minded and travel and meet different cultures, so that we keep our mind open and don't think that there's one truth, but there's multiple truths. But the only thing that we all want to is to live in peace. If you think about it, that's just what we all want. We don't want like to be fighting and I think like dictators all around the world at any age, they really understood it, because that's the first thing they changed. It's education program, and in Afghanistan, that's why they prevent girls from going to school, because like we know it. History proved it. Like if the girls go to school, then the democracy improve, because it's changed everything, So, well, yeah.
For the third question is, what problem must be resolved now?
I don't know what can be resolved right now, but maybe just more appreciation for musicians and what they bring to society in general. The whole music industry had like the worst 2 years of its existence in the past. During the pandemic, and it's not a short-term issue, but I think people are realizing how important live music is to their lives in a way they didn't before. And it's about just not letting us get complacent and forget that it can go away at any moment.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, protect arts.
Yeah. What about you, Clotilde?
Yeah, I do agree. I think that protecting arts in any form, it's to make sure that we keep the mind open, I think. So, yeah.
Well, could you tell our listeners about more information about how they could access the live stream, and then if they do want to participate in person, how do they register?
Okay, so if they go on Fulton Street Collective website, which is a very nice venue in Chicago, there's a link to view the live show, the live streaming. And since it's an invitation only in-presence show, the best would be maybe that they write to the radio, or they DM me on Facebook, and so that we can give them an invitation for the show. That will be with pleasure.
Okay, and let our listeners know how do they DM you on Facebook?
Okay. So it's easy. I have a page and a profile. So Clotilde Rullaud, I think you will put my name.
Yes.
Clotilde Rullaud, or Chris McCarthy. And easy to find.
Okay, and also, but if they go to Fulton Street Collective, that won't do. It has to be the two of you.
Yeah. For the invitation, it's better.
Okay,
but on the Fulton Street Collective internet website, they will find the link for the live streaming.
Okay, Is there any fee for seeing it live stream?
I think it's a donation system, and same for the in-presence show. It's really like based on donation.
Mm-hmm. Well, Clotilde Rullaud and Chris McCarthy, so thankful that you were here with us at WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today, and we wish you the best of luck for your show tomorrow, and continue the success in your tour and in your other projects ahead.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. Let us play a little bit more of a woman's journey while we unravel the set.